Here we go. This is the Talkin' Buds Bills show. How's it going, everybody? I'm Rob. He's Brian. We're 2 games in. The Bills are 2-0. A lot of positive vibes amongst Bills Mafia, especially after the win over the Dolphins. I gotta be honest with you, Brian. I went into that Dolphins game and I was like, this just seems like the type of game. It's early in the season. The weather favors the Dolphins. It just seems like the type of game that like the Dolphins would win going away, and it would send Bills Mafia into a tailspin and we'd all be questioning everything. And that is not what happened. The Bills beat the brakes off the Miami Dolphins. And I think I had a moment watching this game where I was like, you know what? Sometimes we overanalyze the rest of the roster and the weapons and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, this is a quarterback league. And the guy under center is one of the 3 best guys in the world right now. And I think I've heard a lot of people say this, and I tend to agree. I think sometimes Josh Allen gets underrated a little bit only because he's playing in the era of Patrick Mahomes.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, statistically this year, his numbers are a bit down, but his just completion percentage is way up. He's not making half the mistakes. And you're right, because of Patrick Mahomes, he gets overshadowed, which I find that to be annoying, honestly, because they're 1A, 1B in my opinion. Like through 2 games, Josh is 31 for 42, 371 passing yards in a year that passing yards are down in general.
Yep.
3 passing TDs. The big one for me is no interceptions so far. We've seen interceptions all across the league, really sloppy play. You saw Tua before the injury throw really bad, or 3 really bad interceptions.
Yep.
So just how composed he's been in the pocket. His overall QBR right now is, it's only 2 games, but it's 124.21. Just putting up really, really solid numbers and just looking very composed in the pocket.
I saw you take to Twitter with a take I really liked, which is because he's not forcing the ball to Stephon Diggs, that is a major contributor as to why the interceptions are down.
And that's just what I think. Like, a lot of interceptions came from trying to force feed Diggs or Diggs mishandling the ball, bobbling it, getting intercepted. So just the fact that they can spread around the offense and have such an impactful running game, I think it opens everything up. We've never seen a run game like this. So that does help prevent the interceptions because defenses don't know what's coming these days, which is fantastic as a Bills fan. We're so used to just the big pass play or, pass dominant offense. I love run dominant offenses, and I've been waiting for this.
It's been a while. It's been a while since the Buffalo Bills have had a formidable run game that isn't just Josh Allen taking off out of the pocket.
Like James Cook is just on fire. He won the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. He is his first full year with Joe Brady, and you saw last year when Brady took over, he just exploded in the offense. So I've been very, very high on James Cook to start the year, especially with his ball security. That's the one thing I was worried about, and he's shown that you can tackle him every which way right now. He's holding the rock. So that's very, very positive for me.
Who else has stood out to you?
So for me, like my standouts, we already talked about Josh and James Cook. My biggest thing right now is how well the offensive line has been playing, mostly from 2 guys in Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. They're so physical, and they create a lot of gaps for the run game. They've also been very strong holding the pocket for Allen, as I mentioned earlier, through the 2 games. They're expensive. We paid a lot for these 2 guys, but it's really working out in the tackle position for us right now.
I think when you look around the rest of the division right now, too, you're feeling pretty good. Like, even with the injuries on the defensive side of the ball, you're feeling pretty good. Like, you look at what happened in the game with the Dolphins with Tua, which is, like, really scary, and you feel bad for the guy. But their quarterback situation now is in disarray. Like who they're gonna have to go out and get someone.
Yeah, Skyler's not the guy.
No. You look at the Jets, who through 2 games have not looked very good.
Haven't scored over 20 points or even 19 points in either
All
of their
the
games.
people who picked them to like go to the Super Bowl, I hope you feel as dumb as you sounded in the preseason prediction. So many people were going on about the Jets. Ridiculous. And then the Patriots, the Patriots get a feisty win in week 1 and eliminate me from my survivor pool. But at the end of the day, like they're the Patriots. And so it's just, I do think sometimes we as people who cover the team overthink things. And I think when a season starts, there's all this optimism and you're really excited about it. And you're like, what's going to happen? And all these hot takes come flying out. But at the end of the day, like, look at the quarterbacks in the division. Like, it's not even close. It's not even close. Aaron Rodgers is a shell of his former self. He's nowhere close to the Aaron Rodgers 4-time MVP winning Aaron Rodgers.
That's why I thought like it was so crazy. I was watching all the preseason hype about the Jets. And in my mind, I just kept thinking he's 41 years old and he didn't play at all last year. I did not. I thought they were going to come out this slowly, and they did.
Yes. And they looked. They got the doors blown off by the Niners. They didn't look very good against the Titans, who aren't a very good team.
And they only lost because Will Levis made such a boneheaded play.
Exactly. And so it's like you just look at the division and you're like, this is the Bill. Like, if the Bills don't win this division, it's going to be because of the Bills. Like, none of these teams is going to take the division from them. It's not happening.
I agree. The Bills, it's their division to lose, and we have seen them sort of implode midseason before, and that's what kind of worries me.
But I think I honestly am really digging the vibes right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I'm really. This is what we talked about in our couple episodes leading up to the season. We were saying, like, the vibes need to be right. You need to put Josh Allen in a place where he can have success, and I feel like they've done that. He's gotten support from his wide receivers and from his run game. The defense, while completely banged up, has been, like, they kind of the first half of the Arizona game was a bit sluggish, but it's week 1. We'll give it. We'll let them have a pass on that. But, man, to come out and perform the way they performed against the Dolphins last week, it's just beyond impressive.
Well, there's a couple guys I want to shout out on the defensive end. It's mainly the secondary. Like DeMar Hamlin, he had 8 solo tackles in that game against Miami, which I did not expect that. I kind of was hard on him to start the year, and now I couldn't imagine anybody else playing his position right now. Also, like, Balin Spector, Dorian Williams, Christian Benford on quarterback, Jamarcus Ingram with 2 picks and a pick 6. Like, these are not starting guys, and they're making a big impact. Now, what does worry me when we start playing elite quarterbacks, how is that secondary going to perform?
Monday night, they got the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are interesting. Not great. I don't understand. Trevor Lawrence is broken. When you look at this game, is this a game that you think to yourself, they should blow the doors off this team? Or is it, this is a trap game? Like a classic, like, oh, they're at home. They're feeling good about themselves. They're feeling good about themselves after walking the Dolphins. They could get caught off guard here. I'm not there because I think the Jags are such a mess. I think if you were playing a feistier team, that would be a kind of a risk. But this is a game that I expect the Bills to handle relatively easily and be 3-0. No problem.
I'm a little bit there, like worried, just because I've got PTSD from the Urban Meyer Jags when we lost like 9-6 or 9-3 in that game.
Yeah, they
were like the worst team in the league, and that was like peak Bills, and it was just a weird loss. It was a field goal game. Jacksonville had 3 field goals. We had 1 or 2, and it was such a depressing game. And this is what the Bills do. They start so hot.
Yeah, they
feel themselves, and they lose to a team like the Jags. This is kind of what we do. So I'm hoping to not do that this time, and especially if we rely on the run game, it should go the Bills' way. So we'll see. I've got PTSD, man.
I mean, you take a look at this Jags team, and it's just kind of like who scares you on the Jacksonville Jaguars?
No one really.
No,
It's just like Trevor Lawrence can play well. We've seen it, and they were a few plays away from being 2-0 to start the season. It wasn't like they lost by a large margin. They just
but
shot themselves in the foot.
yeah, but therein lies the problem. Like, and you look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, it's like he's a guy that everyone sort of anticipated was going to be one of the next big elite quarterbacks in this league, and it just hasn't happened. They brought in Doug Peterson. They made the playoffs. What was that, 2 years ago now? Last year they were a mess,
Yeah, they imploded last year.
and this year again to start off like they're 0-2.
Now, you think that's on Doug Peterson? Like, what do you think? Because we did see
I
Trevor Lawrence play pretty good.
I don't know, man. I think you really like if you're the Jags leadership and management, you got to be like this is not like maybe Trevor Lawrence won't have the ceiling that we all thought he would, but he can't he's better than this.
Yeah, and like the Jags have like decent defense. Their secondary is not great, but they do have some dudes out there. They haven't looked good in the even from last season, like the last 6 games in a row. They look terrible.
So I always like to throw a question at you every week that you're not prepared for, because then you got to think on your feet. Of because we cover the Bills, we're really more so focused on the AFC. So, which team in the AFC do you think it's just a blip and they'll be there in the end? That's currently 0-2. The Baltimore Ravens, who the Bills play next after the Jaguars, or the Cincinnati Bengals?
I'd put my money on the Bengals. I trust Joe Burrow. I know he hasn't looked good to start the season. They sort of have some wide receiver drama. I just think he's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. Like, Lamar is a great athlete. There's no question. He's a great running quarterback. When he has to make big throws in the pocket, it doesn't happen. And starting 0-2, you have a very slim chance of even making the playoffs. Most teams don't who start 0-2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Bengals usually start slow anyways. That's kind of why I'm saying this.
Their performance against the Chiefs, too, was encouraging.
It was. And like that was, the refs sort of decided that game with
Yes.
the pass interference call. So if that goes the other way, the Bengals could be 1-1, and we're not even talking about them in this conversation.
All right, Brian, any last thoughts you'd like to hit me with before we get out of here?
I just want to shout out Von Miller. He has just come alive. He's the closer of the team, and they're using him correctly on defense. He's already had 4 solos.
I love that, the closer.
Yeah, that's his nickname right now in Buffalo,
yeah.
the closer.
I love it.
And he's really doing it, man. 2 sacks. He didn't have a sack all last year, so it's nice to see him get back in there. AJ Epinesa has really stepped up, and same with Groot. Greg Rousseau, if you don't know, that's his nickname, Groot. He's just been a dominant force on the field. So I just want to shout out mainly the defensive line.
All right, buddy. With that, we're going to get out of here, and we will be back after the Jags game, and we'll also tee up the Ravens game, which is coming in week 4. Here we are heading into week 3 already, Brian. Season's over.
I know. It goes so quickly, man.
It does go so quickly. Like, you just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and look at this. Week 3, season's over.
I'm all for like a 18, 19 game season.
Me too, man. The more football, the better. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. We will see you after the Jags.